You ready?
Yep, let's do it.
Well, I appreciate making the time, Wally. So the first time I think I had the opportunity to meet you was at Sales Mastery, and you had just received the is it the Lifetime Excellence Award, or I don't want to say it wrong. What
I think
is
it's called
talk
the
called?
Lifetime Achievement Award. It was like
Lifetime
the
Achievement Award.
AKA Mortgage Hall of Fame, but
Damn.
I'm not ready to retire anytime soon.
Well, you're doing way bigger things than retiring. I think you're doing the opposite. You're going all in, right? So you've started your own mortgage company, and the spirit in the spirit of why I wanted to invite you on was because our good friend Tristan had mentioned that you have a client concierge, and so I'm really interested in understanding how that came about and what inspired you to create that. But I'd also like to maybe back up because I've noticed that there at the top of the game in the mortgage space, there seem to be a lot of lead coaches, and those coaches really leave a mark on the people on the a lot of the leaders that grow up in the industry. So I've personally only been on the mortgage side 4 years. So I'd love to hear your personal story about how you got started in coaching and how that evolved to basically where you are today before we move on.
Yeah, so I've got 20 years on you. I started a mortgage I was 19 years old, so it was 1999, so 24 years ago. And I started off just a loan officer assistant, and then worked my way up to being a loan officer, then a branch manager, and so on and so on. It's one of these things that absolutely just fell in love with helping families, helping clients. And it wasn't until about like 2013 that I started learning how to this is actually a business that you can run like a business. I always treated it like a job. I always treated it like it was something that, hey, I'm going to go hunt, make a commission, and go enjoy life, then come back. And it wasn't until 2013 I really started focusing on building a team. So when you talked about coaching, I think I was super lucky to meet Todd Duncan earlier in my, I guess, mortgage life. And I think I met him when I was like 20 years old. He and I sparked a friendship when I was probably like in my early 30s. And he coached me for like the last 7, 8 years. So I've learned a ton from him. But it's one of these things that you might go and be attracted to Todd's world because of who Todd is. However, you meet phenomenal people like the Ryan Grants of the world, or the Denise Donahues of the world, or the Josh Meadows of the world, and Dave Savages of the world, and so on and so on. I'm a big fan of saying there's no such thing as a self-made man or a self-made woman. There's no such thing as a self-made success. There's a 1,000% thing of it. There's so many mentors that have opened doors for me and that have taken time to coach me. Even though I learned about the annual mortgage review process at High Trust Sales Academy, I mean, Ryan himself probably spent somewhere
Yep.
in the neighborhood of, I don't know, 30, 40 hours with me over years over the phone, walking me through his process and what he's done. And we kind of run a little bit different models, which we can probably dig into today if you like. But
Yeah.
it's
I found Ryan's old high trust sales binders, like with the DVDs or something. I found it in
yeah,
his office when we were moving.
yeah, yeah. It's one of these things that what I love about Ryan and Josh also. I mean, two brilliant men, and we worked together at a previous company, got really close to friendship wise. But Ryan was probably one of the first pioneers of the annual mortgage review and building that. So um, when I started really understanding that it could become its own foundation in the mortgage business, and it could be from doing the 7-day call, then doing the 30-day call, then doing the 6-month call, and then doing the mortgage efficiency checkup a year later and a year later and a year later. It became a vehicle that allowed me to walk away with so many referrals that in 2019, when I started this, I referred out over $240,000 in commissions to my realtor partners, my financial partners, and such from there. And then once I realized that my relationships started to become different, I started to get grace more. That I didn't have to be on the beck and call. I started getting more referrals from my realtors, and just kept on going. The next year was over $600,000 in commissions that I referred out. all the way fast forward to 2022, I referred out over $2 million in commissions to my CPAs, financial advisors, family will attorneys, insurance agents.
I remember hearing you talk about that, but you tracked those numbers too, right? Like this wasn't some
Yeah,
schmuckety schmuck like, oh hey, like you actually wrote down and tracked, were
literally,
able
I
to
had
trace.
conversations with each financial advisor, each CPA, and we had accountability meetings every month. And people ask me, how do you track it or what do you track? I said, it's just the regular conversation that you find out the data. So you're like, well, did you connect to their payroll system? No. I sat down with each wealth advisor and I said, hey, I want to add more. I want to be your biggest number one referral partner. Tell me about your biggest referral partner that you have now and how much business do they refer you that makes you whatever income. So if it's a CPA, it's this accounting firm refers me $100,000 worth of fee revenue that I'm able to create. Okay, well, I don't know. I'm competitive. I like being number one. So let's do this. I'm going to start referring you business, and monthly, let's track it together. Monthly, I want to understand, am I ahead or am I behind becoming your number one referral partner? Because if it gets like October, November, early December, and I'm like neck and neck with your number one, like, guess what? I'm going to blow you up with the referrals the last 2 weeks of the month, 2 weeks of the year to really become number one. Because the following year, like, I want that title. And it became a game. It became a relationship builder. It became a way to really dig in deep of like, hey, Wally, great news. I landed the Smiths. I got paid A, B, and C on it. Cool. Let's add that to the list. And it became a great way to track it. But when you're a loan officer doing a couple $100 million a year in loans, which is very blessed here in Dallas, I mean, our average loan amount's only about 400,000. But to do $200 million a year in loans and then be able to refer out over $2 million in commissions, the relationships that we have with our realtors, CPAs, financial advisors, family will attorneys, insurance are so strong because we're referring business back and forth. Now my CPAs are referring business directly to the financial advisors. And, unfortunately, you kind of lose track of it. Where before it was like I was the gatekeeper referrals, but then we started doing client events with the CPAs and the financial advisors and such from there. And now they're referring business back and forth, which is super awesome because I was the gatekeeper of that.
Yep.
So you can build your own little networking group in a way that keeps you in the middle of the relationships, and you're the one that reaps the rewards from their referrals.
I think it would behoove people to kind of understand, like, are you familiar with BNI or like LATIP or the basic Chamber of Commerce, right? So, and I feel like Ryan used to be in BNI. I used to be in BNI. Were you ever in BNI?
I was for like a month. But yeah.
Okay. So there's a difference, I feel like, between having, well, what you just described is the epitome of having structure for your referral networking. And that's what most professionals completely lack. So in that sense, BNI is perfect for people who just completely lack structure because, hey, here's the blueprint. Now, it's really high impact, I feel like, on your, maybe not your money, but your time and your energy. Like the three forms of currencies that, I've heard a lot of people talk about: time, money, and energy. So very quickly, for professionals who want to build high level teams, that becomes something you outgrow. It's like, love it, but I don't have time for these lunch meetings. I don't have time for all these one-to-ones. I only work with 3-4 people in this group anyway. You're power partners, right? So it's like,
yeah,
you outgrow that. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's,
it becomes, sorry. No, it is. I mean, I think you're 1,000% right. You start learning your value. And I think where most loan officers really struggle is they feel their value is being on the realtor's becking call. They feel their value is
available 24/7.
Yeah, it's the opposite 24/7 that I teach. But yeah, exactly.
But that literally, no, that's like, this is literally one of the things, if we're going to change the mortgage industry, like, people have to stop saying that that's their value. It's like, no, that's your job, right? Like, and that isn't the life you should want, right? We train people how to treat us. That is not how you need to be. You're kind of you're in the opposite end of the spectrum, right? You're kind of ruining it for everybody else because you don't have any value. So you're selling something that isn't actually valuable because you don't have any.
Yeah. I mean, you're trying to sell something you don't know what to sell. And you think like your time is what there is most valuable to them. I've coined this quote that to add value, you have to be valuable. To add value, you have to be valuable. And if you ask loan officers, I mean, if you do a survey, what does it what is the value that the realtor is looking from you? And majority of them are going to tell you, well, speed to lead, fast responses, availability on the weekends. What I'm trying to help them understand as I built 24/7 mindset, from the private group to the academy to the book to the podcast, I'm trying to build this movement of that you can be the driver of the relationship, you can be the driver and the controller of the relationship, but you've got to be able to actually be able to create value, to be more valuable by generating referrals. When I've learned how to generate referrals, I've taken the control out of my realtor's lane, and now I've got the power. I'm not going to abuse that power because I want to be respected and being respectful, but it puts me in a position that I can now be the quarterback that's calling the plays versus just the receiver that's running the plays.
Yeah, when I was in title insurance for 7 years, and I didn't really have a good role model, to be honest, and I had no, I had my sales managers, which were supposed to be my mentors, right? Like, and coach me, right? But very quickly, I learned that you have to take the meeting, right? Like, you have to start meeting with people at other companies. You have to start going outside of your industry, right? Going to events, because if you're not improving, then we don't know what we don't know, right? So we're limited to our current understanding of the world. And unfortunately, we probably agree on this. Like, I think realtors have been unfortunately trained that they're the center of the universe, and this is false. It's like, I've heard Ryan say this, so I'm gonna steal what Ryan has said, which is that to facilitate a real estate transaction, there's only three things you need: money, a willing buyer, and a willing seller. What don't you need? Right? A realtor. So yeah, unfortunately, they do hold a lot of influence, but that's because we also let them. And hey, perfect segue into what I wanted to talk to you about, which is because nobody really considers it their job, like their responsibility, to help the consumer after the transaction, right? Mm-hmm. Like, everybody's chasing the 1%. Like, hey, like, do your transaction with me, right? I want to be your provider. Nobody actually cares after the transaction. So how did that even come about? Like, is there a story behind that? Like, what inspired you to try and be more valuable for your clients after the transaction?
Yeah, I mean, I think, so I didn't really figure it out until 2019, but I knew I had to do something differently. What I was doing wasn't working. So it was 2013. It was actually May, and we were going on a family vacation. And I've got two boys, Braden the Brave.
2013 or 19?
2013. So this 2013, we're going on a family vacation. And I've got two sons. My 17-year-old is Braden the Brave, is what we like to call him, and my 16-year-old's Alexander the Great. So Alexander was only 5 years old back then in 2013. And I remember walking out of the front foyer. I've got my suitcase in my hand, and we're ready to go on vacation. I think we're going to Disneyland or something like that. And Alex says, "Oh, Dad, you're coming with us?" Here's my 5-year-old going on a family vacation, and I was such an absent father. I was such a workaholic. I had such an ego drive for business that my 5-year-old was surprised that we're going on a family vacation again. Like, when you say when did the light click off of like something needed to change, it was 110% that day. I just didn't know how to execute it until probably 2019. So once I got the plan of really starting annual mortgage reviews and understanding that here's a vehicle that if I learn to master, I can now control my time. Here's a vehicle that if I learn to master it, now I'm building assets and building net worth in my business. Here's a vehicle, if I learn to master with annual mortgage reviews, I can turn my database, that is a collection of borrowers' names and information, into a data bank that I can pull income and pull referrals out of. And that's where, like, 2019, we're doing roughly around $100 million in loans. And within 2022, really focusing on 2020 was annual mortgage reviews. 2021 was focused on wealth partners. And the volume doubled. To go, like, the mortgage business is a pinnacle of $100 million. We did that in 2019. 2021, 2 years later, we're over 200 million. And we've been over 200 million. Like, to be able to have that client climb, you can't get there with realtors. Just if you can, good for you. I couldn't get there with realtors. So for me to reach my goal to make X, Y, and Z millions of mortgage and turn a mortgage industry, mortgage business from a passive earned income stream to to an earned income stream to a passive earned income stream, I needed to be able to build a leverage vehicle in mortgage that paid me passively, which became the database.
Yeah. I've only ever met a handful of people who really like had that light bulb kind of moment, right? Where they started to, for Ryan, it's his Lone Monkey story. I'm sure there's other things, but it's the, you know, he had a client the husband passed away, right? And the family didn't have life insurance. And yeah, I think I've heard the saying, the mortgage industry kind of operates like a lawnmower without a bag, right? You asked me to cut your grass. And I cut your grass. See ya. Send me some referrals, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you need your grass cut again, definitely let me know. But it's like, but wait, like, what about like this? Are you going to help me with this mess that you just
No.
like? No. Realtors, I would say they're a little bit more. They're a little bit harder to try and convince that this is important to do.
I would say 99% of the population, you're 1,000% right. Now, here's what I want all of your viewers to understand. Once you have referrals in your hand and you're able to go after the biggest realtors in your city, they see the value in you, right? That top 1% real estate team that's doing hundreds of millions of dollars a year in deal and transactions in your city as a loan officer, they see the value in models, systems, and standards around them. They see the value in an organization. They see the value in consistency. They see a value in warm introductions. They see a value of quality time with their families.
Yeah, it's tangible. Tangible.
Yeah, that bottom 99%, no. I mean, you can be talking to a brick wall and get the same results. But that top 1%, what you've got to understand is they are more attracted to you as a loan officer if you're coming to the table with warm referrals, but also they're more valuable because they run a business like you want to run a business.
Yeah. Would you say it's something that you have to earn? And you don't just earn it by giving referrals. It's really like you've created the 24/7 Mindset Academy. It's a process that you have to embody, right? Like,
and so you remember, I think it's a great quote. I learned it probably 20 years ago. Customer service is not a department. It's a mindset. Customer service, serving your customers, is not a department. You don't get transferred to customer service. It's the mindset. And having a mindset shift and a mindset change that you are worthy enough as a loan officer to be able to go after the top 1% of realtors, you've got to change your mindset. It's not like something that you earn, but it's education. You've got to be able to bring value, and you truly have to perform. You can bring all the referrals in the world. If you're missing closings, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, you can buy. I think there was a time when people were like getting Zillow long form leads, and they're like, "Oh, hey, Mr. Realtor, and Knoxville, Tennessee, like I have some leads for you. You want to work with me, and then send me your other business." It's like, yes, that is one form of exchanging value. Is you're buying leads, and maybe that was also working when times were great. So when I said earn though, because I guess I'd like to challenge that with you, is the experience of being, maybe worthy is also the wrong word. I was just on a coaching call earlier with Jonathan Roach where he was talking about, do you coach with Jonathan or do you know Jonathan?
I know. Okay. I don't coach him.
Okay. Treating everyone as world-class. Okay. What you just said, the mindset around that. I've heard, I think it's George Clooney, right? Like celebrity person. I've heard stories where, people share their experience of like, oh, I met George Clooney and he had this ability of making them feel like they were the most important person in the room. And Jonathan articulated it in a slightly different way, but making people feel world-class, but you actually have to care. So that's another thing that you have to almost developmentally, like you have to experience it and now believe that this is the right thing to do. What you just said, customer service is what?
It's not a department. It's a mindset.
Mindset.
Yeah.
I mean, that mindset doesn't happen overnight.
There's for my mindset shift was two things. One, it was a book called Branding Story. Have you read that by chance?
I've heard it. No.
Yeah, it talks about how you as a loan officer, you as the salesperson is the guide and your borrower is the hero. You as a loan officer is the guide, and your realtor is the hero. In sales, it's so easy to like have this ego of like, I just saved the day. It was a 7-day close, saved them X, Y, and Z on debt consolidation, whatever it was. You got to structure your mindset to where you are the guide and they are the hero. They are the center stage. They are the front. They deserve all the credit. And all you're doing is just being the guide. If you do that, it's easy to be humble. It's easy to be relational, and it's super easy to be authentic. And that's where I think that mindset shift for me really changed. And the other one was, it was a Keller Williams class called Quantum Leap. And it
I've
said,
heard of it. Oh my gosh. I used to work with a lot of Keller Williams offices and titles. So yes, I've heard of that class. Nice,
it was, yeah, I mean, I flew from Dallas to San Jose to go to the class. And it was phenomenal because I asked, so in the class, the instructor, which has become a pretty good buddy of mine, Dick Dillingham, he said in the class that you need your team more than they need you. And I asked him later, I said, man, I didn't want to respect you in front of the group, but like, I mean, I hate saying this, but egotistically, my response was, my team needs me more. I'm the rainmaker. Like, I'm the one that brings all the business in, da da da. And he helped me understand and self-discover that I need my realtors more than they need me. I need my referral partners more than they need me. I need my assistants more than they need me. If you continuously have that mindset that you are not the authority, it's super easy to show love. It's super easy to show grace. It's super easy to show patience. And I feel like sometimes mortgage is in this industry that I'm going to go hunt. I'm going to go kill it. I'm going to go conquer. I'm going to go take the world. I'm going to go fight. I'm going to go climb. And it's like you're just causing your own problems by not thinking abundantly.
Yeah, definitely. There's this again, I've only been in mortgage now 4 years, but there is that old school train of thought, which, I think even Renee has done a good job bringing the, emotional intelligence, right? And there's a lot of people probably been working on this for a long time in the business, but yeah, get out there and hunt, right? And that would also be probably the equivalent of Mike Ferry versus like his son, Tom Ferry, right?
Yeah.
Mike is like the hunt, kill, just get him, right? I noticed that I have been on the branding story website, right? So there is a website, by the way, for anybody who wants to check it out, right? The book, there's a website for that as well. So that breaks it down brilliantly, I think, to understanding that we're just there as guides and mindset, right? So
well, I mean,
think
of like who do they come back to more often? They come back to the guide more often. If you're a successful guide, they come back to you more often. If you're just a successful hero, they admire you from afar. What I've learned being a successful guide, and they get all the credit, they get all the fame, they get all the glory, and I'm just the guide. They keep coming back to me for more guidance. If you're the guide, they keep coming back to you for more guidance. So if you want those future referrals from the client, they got to see you as the guide, not the hero.
So what kind of guidance do you provide? Let's dive deeper and just kind of address it head on. So you started implementing that process 2019, or was it a little later?
Yeah, the annual mortgage review process, yes, 2019.
Okay, cool. And so do your mortgage advisors do the annual financial reviews, or do the client concierge team do those?
Yeah, so the client concierge team for me calls and schedules. And 2019, I did all the financial reviews. I did all the annual mortgage reviews, and I probably had somewhere in the neighborhood consistently 15, 18, 20 appointments a day on my calendar scheduled. I mean, it was boom, 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 boom. It produced a ton of business, which is great, and I enjoyed the income, but I realized I became my own biggest problem. I became my own ceiling of achievement. Then 2020, 2021, I started having my production partners trained where they can do annual mortgage reviews. So like today, our client concierge team schedules they execute themselves the 7-day call on their own. They execute the 30-day call on their own. They schedule the 6-month call for the loan officer on their calendar, and then they schedule the annual mortgage review or the mortgage efficiency checkup on the loan officer's calendar. So they do the first couple of calls, warm up the client, stay in relationship with the client, and then it goes to the loan officer, and the loan officer is doing now. I don't do them anymore.
Okay. Yeah, that's one of the things I was going to ask, is you said you were doing them in 2019, and I would imagine I was going to ask, like, was that a high impact activity, right? Like, was that, because there are some things that a lot of originators I've noticed really resist this change process, and they try and like hold on to it, like, well, I'm better at it than everyone, right? What would you say to that? They're better, or how would you address that?
Probably two separate ways. Are they better? Probably. Okay, let's just say they are. But how many appointments can you do? So my peak was probably 18, 20 appointments a day, right? But if I've got 9 loan officers and they do 5 a day each, that's 45 compared to my 18, 19. They don't need to be as perfect as I am, because how much more volume is produced by 45 annual mortgage reviews a day versus 18 or 19 annual mortgage reviews a day, first of all. So if you want to focus on scalability and really achieving higher end volume, then you've got to be able to bring talent in, coach them up, then elevate them up where they take it from there. Number two thing that I had a mindset shift. It was, again, you have me tell all my cobwebs, but it was like 2015. I was trying to grow the team, and I had a manager named Neil, and Neil comes up to me and goes, "Hey, Wally, how's recruiting going?" And my response is, "Dude, it's freaking horrible. I can't go back. I would love to go back and slap myself, because my response to Neil was, I can't find anybody as good as me." And the maturity about Neil was brilliant, because Neil's response was, "Okay, can you find somebody half as good as you?" Again, I regret saying this, but I did say this. I said, "Absolutely, there's a ton of people out there half as good as me." And he goes, "Great, awesome. If you find 2 people half as good as you, they'll be able to accomplish 100% that you can do, 100% of your efforts. You find 3 people half as good as you, they can do 150% of what you can accomplish." Today, I will tell you, I'm out of production completely. The succession plan succeeded as of 2022. But today, I will tell you, my team does loans better than I ever have. They structure loans better than I ever have. They structure mortgage coach cost analysis better than I ever have. They do annual mortgage reviews better than I ever have. 110%. They're better as a loan officer as I've ever been. But that's the development that they've had over the last 4 years, 8 years, 10 years that they've been with me. So to answer the question, it's like, you might be better than your team today, but 2 things: you're going to never get scalable, and you're never giving them the opportunity to grow. If you give your team never the opportunity to grow, they're going to leave and they're going to go somewhere else. So why then lose momentum when you've got to rebuild your team all over again?
How many teams do you have right now within your group?
I've got 9 loan officers in a branch.
Okay.
Or the team.
Have you, and you've probably heard of a lot of people try, and we're not trying to disrespect doctors when we talk about this, right? But the nurse doctor comparison, right? Like, who's doing what, the breakdown there. So I think that one of the things I've noticed in talking with a lot of, especially 1% originators, right? Or 0.001% originators, is that you're taking all the reps, right? That's the reason no one's also better than you, is because you're the one who gets to work out all the time and they don't get better. And if you take it a step further, right? Like, they don't need to do the doctor's job. They just need to be able to do the nurse's job, right? Which is 90% of the job, right? So how are you going to help more people? And so I do think that it's worth calling bullshit sometimes, pardon my French, on loan originators, even realtors, right? Who have this mindset around, well, I can't build this huge team. Like, I don't want to do 100 million in production, right? I don't want to do, $250,000 in production. It's like, well, don't use the excuse that this is about helping people and you're the best person to help them, because that you just don't have a good blueprint, right? So I guess backing up to your upbringing within the industry and falling in with Todd Duncan, right? Who's one of your greatest mentors, probably. Just altered your entire life's trajectory, right? Which you chose, by the way, that's a personal thing, right? Like you chose to align yourself there. It spoke to you. It meant something. Um, so what do the client concierge, what's their job like as far as when they're talking with the client? What do they focus on with them? And do they need to bring the originator back in now, or
No, I mean the client concierge is a handful of duties during the day. So they call and do a 7-day call with the borrower. So 7-day call is, hey, great news. Thanks so much for helping us, allowing us to close 123 Apple Street. How'd everything go at closing? Have you moved in yet? How's everything going to move? Can we help you get any contractors so far? Is there anything that you're needing around the house that that is the sink broken, whatever the case is? You're looking for ways to add value, right? That's number one. And you're letting them know where to make their mortgage payment. The next call is a 30-day call to the client concierge. This 30-day call is calling client and saying, hey, great news. It's 30 days. Your monthly mortgage payment's coming up. Do you know where to make your monthly mortgage payment? Have you got into the portal? Have you set up your automatic payment? And remember, Wally reminded you, you've got to be able to file a homestead exemption. Have you been able to do that? Or would you like us to go on the county's website and pull that homestead exemption form and send it over to yourself?
yeah, so this is about them, right? This is about things for them.
We're the guide. We're the guide. And that's the culture that we built. We are just the guide. There is no heroes here. There is no capes or any of that. We're just the guides. So that's the culture that the client concierge has. Hey, it's a concierge. I mean, that's what it is. They are there to serve that client. And we structure our culture as mortgage lending with a servant's heart. Servant's heart is you go the extra mile to serve. It's not complicated. So remember, customer service is not a department. It's a mindset, right? So, and then so that's after the 30-day call. So the 6-month call, the client concierge calls the client and schedules the 6-month call for the loan officer. So now the loan officers receive leverage, receive points of engagement. The borrower's already got their mortgage coach updated and sent over to them. It's already got their home bot already sent over. They've already been enrolled in a sales boomerang. They've set up their automatic repayment. So all that's been done. So now the loan officer gets to add value. So it gets on the 6-month call. And on the 6-month call, you're saying, hey, we closed your mortgage A, B, and C way. We've got the annual mortgage review coming up. Has anything changed in your life? Have you gotten a new job? Have you lost your job? Has your spouse, whatever the case is, how are your family bills going? How's everything going in the house? Do you need help? So you're looking for ways to be able to add value to them so you can continue to be valuable to them in their life. One of the biggest challenges I see loan officers have is like, I want to be your lender for life. Well, you haven't called them in 4 years. How are you going to be the lender for life? Do you think there's an imaginary?
But at least they send them recipe emails.
Yes, you got it. So then again, the client concierge schedules for the loan officer for the annual mortgage review. And then after year 1, so going to year 2 and beyond, we call it the mortgage efficiency checkup. And I remember being at Sales Mastery, and I remember I was still talking to Ryan, and I said, hey, man, like our calls are starting to fall off, as rates start increasing. And his response is, well, yeah, you're still calling it annual mortgage review. And I think you guys call it like a annual financial review or whatever it is.
Annual financial review, yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't want to be Ryan's copycat. So I came up with mortgage efficiency checkup. And the client concierge would call and say, hey, Wally structured your mortgage A, B, and C way. He wants to get on the phone with you to make sure everything is running efficiently on the mortgage. So then you're able to hit your goals of how much equity you want to walk away when you sell your house. Where do you want your principal to be? And what the next down payment is going to be on the new house. So it's like a table touch of, hey, you told me you want to have these 3 major goals. We want to help you reach these goals. Guide, not hero. We want to help you reach these goals. And if we can help you reach these goals, then jump on a 15-minute call with Wally to be able to do a mortgage efficiency check.
Yeah. I've noticed that the way that you kind of even articulated it kind of is effortless. or at least you make it look easy, Wally. And I'm sure a lot of people feel that. So one of the most difficult things that everybody struggles with is the tangible. Okay, I want to do that, and unfortunately, you can't copy someone else's experience.
Okay.
So first off, someone could just join the 24/7 Academy, right? If you want that mind shift, if you want to personally, like, if you believe what we believe, that we need to change the mortgage industry, that the consumers deserve value for life, and you want to be the person to create that value for them, right? Then
Yeah.
you've got to do something about it. But well, I'd love to. What's your current belief as far as the industry right now? Like, what do people need more of right now? Like, what is, I'm sure you're not within your own group, but I know you're connected with a lot of people outside the industry. So what do more people need to focus on right now? Something tactical that they could be doing.
Um, to me, it goes down to patience. If you're patient, you have wisdom. If you're patient, you know that what the next moves are coming. What you're realizing right now is a lot of loan officers are going through scarcity, and they're like, "Well, my database. My database is at 2%, and I'm not going to. I'm rates are at 7%. They're. I don't know why you're doing any mortgage reviews. I had a loan officer jump on the page the other day and said, "Hey, have you shut down your client concierge team? Because I mean, rates are at 2%. They're not at 2% anymore." I'm like, "No, like we actually just hired another client concierge because my goal is not necessarily to refinance them. My goal is to be their guide to connecting them with a CPA. My goal is to be the guide connecting them with a financial advisor. My goal is to be the guide of connecting them with a family will attorney. My goal is to be the guide connecting them with insurance." Then from making those 4, 5, 6 connections, then now I've got the ability to earn referrals back from the CPA's network, the financial advisors network, the family will attorneys network, the insurance network. And now as I get those referrals, I can go out there to the marketplace and pick any realtor I want to go after. And they're super easy to be able to capture. Imagine that as a loan officer. You can pick any realtor you want to go after, one that does $1 bazillion or whatever the case is. Your favorite realtor in your town. You can land that realtor. If you're doing any mortgage, if you're referring to your wealth team, you're getting referrals back, and you go to that realtor, "Hey, I've got John Smith. He's a pre-approved client. It's a $500,000 deal. May I refer you this client? And oh, by the way, let's grab coffee because I'd like to meet you first." What
Starting
realtor
from
do
a
you say no to
completely different place. Yeah. And there isn't a lot of awareness around this, I don't think, right? Like, if you walk into your average sales meeting, even a lot of coaching programs, right? Like, there isn't a lot of awareness around what you just described, which is creating value, right? Like, so if you're wondering what to do right now, right, you're reaping what you sowed, months, years ago, right, by not having a process like this. So, okay, awesome.
that?
Well, do you have any other thoughts, I guess, right now around client for life and, adopting clients and creating value for them long term?
No, I guess squirrel moment. If you see Ryan or you talk to Ryan anytime soon, tell him Wally said hi. We haven't hung out in a while, but he gave a great
You guys don't go to L360, or like you're not in one of those, like, groups where you guys see each other like a couple times a year? No,
bro. I'm not cool enough anymore, man. So no, I was kidding.
you're too busy.
Yeah, he
You
wrote an
and Ryan,
endorsement.
maybe that's why.
He wrote an endorsement for 24/7 Mindset, the book, for me, and he's in the book. And we talked about getting together for golf and getting together. But no, I mean, he and I are super social friends on social media. But Ryan has, what I love so much about Ryan is there's been multiple times that I've needed to be checked, and there's multiple times that I've made mistakes in my career. And every single time he's been there as a coach, as a mentor, as a leader, never criticized me once. It was always coming from abundance. It was always coming from a heartfelt coaching conversation. So
Yeah,
I've got a great place in my heart for Ryan, and he's a mad respect for the guy.
awesome. Hey, one last thing. What is your favorite book and why?
Ooh, that's an easy one. The book that really truly changed my life. I just lied. It's not an easy one. There's like 9 more just popped in my head.
It's
I'll
okay.
give you. Why don't I tell you the top 3? Is that okay? Can I give you the top 3?
Sure,
I'll be
sure, sure.
okay. Top 1 is called The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan.
You're a big Keller Williams guy.
Just a little bit, you'll understand why this next one here in a second. It taught me the focusing question. What is the one thing such by doing it makes everything else easy or unnecessary? What is the one thing such by doing it makes everything else easy or unnecessary? If you look through those lenses at your day to day, your week to week, your month to month, your relationships, what is the one thing such by doing it that makes everything else easy or unnecessary? You truly learn how to work smart, not just work hard. And that was my Achilles heel. I wanted to be the hardest working person in the room. And as I learned from that book, I learned to become the smartest working person in the room. And then that's involvement, right? So the reason why I'm really big on Keller Williams is because of book number 2. So book number 2 is called Positioning and Niching by Jack Reese. It talks about how if you can position yourself in a niche of being the number 1 or number 2 industry leader in that niche, for me is Keller Williams, then your success becomes untouchable because over time you're so much ahead of the curve. So I went all in a KW, probably like 2013, 14, 15, somewhere in that range. And as I went in and all in a KW, I was going to every class that they had. I was reading every book that they had. I was hiring every Keller Williams coach that they had. I became Kellerized, as they like to call it, and drank that red Kool-Aid, to the point where Gary Keller allowed me to become a one-thing coach, speaker, and trainer. So I'm a loan officer. I'm a loan officer that also worked for Keller Williams as a coach, speaker, and trainer to realtors. Do you think that helped me do more loans?
I think that helps you carry a lot of influence, yes.
Exactly, right? So I had to find a niche. I had to position myself as number 1 in that niche, which was book number 2. That's why you hear a lot of Keller Williams on me. Okay. Then book number 3, John Maxwell coached me from like 2014 to 2016. And Maxwell taught me his 5 levels of leadership book is phenomenal. It's just going from positional leadership to permissional leadership, and then getting all the way up to pinnacle leadership. It's an amazing book. And he's just got such a loving spirit to him for sure.
If you could only take one with you on vacation tomorrow, which one would you take with you?
The books?
Maybe you haven't read it in a while. What?
Out of those 3 books, I would say Positioning and Niching.
Okay, there you go. Cool. Well, hey, for anyone watching, it's this is called the From Experience podcast, and I always find it funny because I could throw in as many cliches as I want about experience, right? And how you actually have to earn that experience and get the experience so that you can evolve to a place where, again, like you've built something that for you, like definitely from the outsider's perspective, you kind of make it look easy. It's definitely not easy, right? Iceberg. Sorry, right? But you don't get to a place like that without, some blood, sweat, and tears, right? And that's what it takes, right? Is you have to invest that and you have to get that experience. So, awesome, Wally. I am so grateful that you made the time to meet with me. Is there anything else you kind of want to share before we close out? Thoughts?
No, that's it. I mean, I would just say, if I may say, that if anybody in this call found value in what I shared, there's nothing that I'm trying to sell right now. So just join my private Facebook group. You just go to Facebook, put in 24-7, like it is right here, 24-7 mindset, and just join the private Facebook group every single day, literally every day, except Saturday and Sunday. Monday through Friday, I make a post in there of a video content with implementationable steps. I don't want to post content in there for you to say, wow, that Wally guy is cool, or that Wally guy is a unicorn. I hate that word. I want to post content in there that you take it, you implement it, you grow your income, or you grow your time off. So the only thing is, if you could help me grow the private Facebook group, that'd be great.
100%. I don't originate. So what do I do here? Do I answer yes or no? I'm not focused on origination. Say no. Okay, I'll fill out the rest of this. But yeah. Well, yeah, I do think that we need to support each other more in this industry. I always like to say when I go to conferences, I probably go to about like 4 conferences a year now, right? I find that once a quarter, like really keeps my energy high, right? I just, I get to keep my energy high, meet people that I know, stay within community. I'm always there to learn one thing. At Mastermind, last conference I went to, it was from Jonathan Roach. So picked up the whole the negative voice and the positive voice.
Yep.
But definitely, I support you, right? Like we wave different flags, but more people need to support each other in the industry in that way. That's the only way we can change the mortgage industry. So,
I mean, I created a community here in Dallas Fort Worth called Power Players, and I just had a great speaker come in, Dusty Ogilvy. I've got Bill Hart coming in, Todd Bookspan coming in, Renee Rodriguez coming into Dallas, and the whole thing about Power Players is Power Players Masterclass. It's loan officers helping teach and empowering loan officers in the same city. God willing, I'm successful and I can grow this to 100 to 300 loan officers that meet on a monthly basis, become a mastermind. Because I want to grow that from city to city to city. Because at the end of the day, we're all in the same city and we're all trying to be these competitors with each other and trying to compete, while we can all learn from so much from each other.
Yeah, it speaks to, are you there to serve, right? And do you actually care? Because if you're not setting that agenda aside, well, it shows. First off, you're not going to show up at a group, right, and give the secret sauce away, everything that you're doing, because that's not what you care about. What you care about is money. But I have found that all the best people in this industry, this isn't just a job, right? I think you mentioned that at the beginning when we started, right? This is their life, right? And it's not just their income, right? Like they're a better person because of the people that they surround themselves with, and they're, you could say worthy adversaries, right? Where it's like, they're helping clients in a similar way to us, but at the end of the day, we're not selling the same products, so to speak. That 90 or more percent of originators are, they're just selling debt. They don't actually care beyond that.
Well, I find it funny when you talk to a loan officer and like, I only post on social on my business page. I don't post on my personal page. Like my friends don't want to see that. I'm like, you are missing the mark. I mean, you were like, we're not even the same chapter, we're not in the same book, we're not in the same like arena or ballpark. Like I am a servant's leader heart. I just specialize in mortgage. So that's who my friends love me for. That's why they're friends on social. It's not because I'm gonna sell them a mortgage. That's not what I'm about.
Yeah. Two quick things that makes me think of. Number one is I always hate how when I meet people, there's some people who have this mindset that they can't learn something new. And I don't know when in someone's life they pick up this trait where it's like, you're done learning new things. It's like, that should never stop. Number one, like if you need to learn social, okay, please learn it because that's just kind of necessary. However, I was talking with an originator yesterday and she mentioned how her kids, one of the things she picked up from her kids is how they actually send really shitty photos to each other, like and their friends, because that's what they do. They don't think about it differently, right? That's to them. It's like, what do you mean? Like, I'm just sending a photo to my friend. It doesn't even cross their mind. So social is meant to be social, right? Like you're meant to be your raw, authentic person yourself, right? And unfortunately, I'm not as old as you. You're more seasoned. But we both saw Instagram, Facebook come around. And those are, I think, when they were first, people looked at them as like this is my place to be perfect, right? Like, I'm perfect, right? And so there's this old mentality right now of all these people who are like, but it's not perfect. It's like, shit. Like, it's not supposed to be perfect, especially today with millennials, Gen Zers, right? Like those people do not care about perfect. They don't even want perfect. So for anybody who's waiting out there to do more social and they need
just do it.
To get in tune with it. Let's do it. Well, cool. Well, I really appreciate you making the time, man. And I'm sure we'll chat again soon. Will I see you at any upcoming conferences? Are you going to be at AmpCon?
No. What is that?
AmpCon? Amplify. Renee Rodriguez is Amplify. AmpCon.
When is that?
That is October 26th in your town, right?
October 26th in Dallas?
Yeah.
Okay. Then hell yeah. I'm there.
All right. I am going to be at the Ford event this Thursday and Saturday. Friday and Saturday, flying in Thursday. But all right, cool. Well, I'll see you in Dallas, maybe in October.
Right, we'll see that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Bye.